Hi, today we're doing a review on a DP Quantum Western saddle. So as I go through the video, I'll try and talk in Australian terms and also in international terms for our American friends and other international viewers. So what I'll do with this video is this will be part one of the video, and then I'll create a second part two of the saddle on the actual horse. Okay, to start off with, this saddle is, as you can see, of Western design. However, it actually is on an English tree. And so the reason for that is it's lighter. It is fully adjustable. DP does have other saddles in their range that's Western saddles that's not on an English tree. So there's a couple of different options in the range if you're interested in something similar. But we'll focus on this particular saddle for today. Okay, so I'll run you through some of the construction of the saddle first, and then we'll look at my particular saddle and sort of custom options that you may want to add. So this particular saddle has an ultra flex tree. It is a flexible thermoplastic polymer tree. It's extremely strong, but it has a slight flexibility to it, but it's stable enough that it's not going to destabilize the saddle on the horse. It will create a little bit of give in the saddle, but it won't actually twist that much that it causes a problem for you. It's not so obvious that you're going to ride in it and then feel like it's twisting off the back or anything. It feels, when you ride in it, like a normal saddle, but you can definitely feel that the horse is a little bit more free under the saddle. So it's not like a treeless saddle by any means, just as a comparison. The other benefit of this tree is that it's quite light. So with my saddle here, so this is a Quantum Western, and then you get a Quantum Western short and light, which looks similar. However, there's little differences between the two. Okay, so with this particular saddle, this particular saddle weighs 10 kilograms, which is equivalent to 22 pounds. So that's pretty light for a Western saddle, which is really good if you are someone who doesn't want a lot of weight, if you do long distance, or you're getting older and you can't lift your saddle as much, or you've got back issues or whatever it is. So that's one of the big benefits of this saddle. Really easy to carry around. Okay, so just a side note for our other riders, if you are a rider that weighs over 200 pounds, you need to get a special tree. So you can still have these saddles, but you need to request a special tree. And all that does is that it provides more stability for the saddle and obviously for yourself and your horse. So just keep that in mind depending on your situation. Okay, now the main reason most people buy these saddles is because they're adjustable. So this big hole you can see on the side here, this actually accommodates a tool. And so I'll show you the tool in the next video. But essentially, it's a tool that goes straight inside there into the tree, into the kind of horn section of the saddle here. And when you twist it, and you just turn it like a key pretty much, it actually adjusts this section and makes it the actual tree in the front here wider or narrower. So what that really does, it enables you to accommodate a huge variety of different horses. So you can put this on a really thin weathered thoroughbred, or you can put this on a fat gypsy cob because it's adjustable. So, you know, like with any saddle, I can never say to you, I guarantee this saddle is going to fit all horses in the whole world. I can't say that for sure. But what I can say is it will fit many different horses with many different conformations, which is wonderful. Okay, so the gullet width changes quite a lot, so which is really beneficial. This is also really helpful if you've got more than one horse, which you have, and you've got one saddle, let's say. If you buy this saddle and you adjust it to your horses as you go, you don't have to have a saddle for each horse, for example. So it really depends what you value in terms of the adjustability. So for me, I wanted, the reason I got pushed to buy this saddle really is because I wanted adjustable gullet. And to find an adjustable gullet in a Western saddle is super difficult. You know, you kind of stuck when you want to ride Western and your gullet sizes are set. So that's why I really looked into these saddles to start with, because I find with my own horse that when she's in work, she gains muscle quickly. And that means her shoulders and her body changes, and I need to accommodate that. And so this helps me do that. If she's not in work, again, you know, she becomes thinner and muscle wastage. So this really helps me avoid any problems that I can't even fix with pads or whatever like that. So I can just adjust the saddle to fit her current body shape. Okay, so this saddle here is a size 2 saddle, which refers to the seat size. So this saddle is equivalent to a 16-inch Western saddle, a traditional Western, or 17.5-inch English saddle. So for your reference, I am 170 centimeters tall and I weigh 60 kilograms. So I've got quite a long leg, which is why I opted for the size 2. And also I rise to the trot. Of course, I'll do sitting trot as well, but I do rise. So this seat is a smidge big for my bum, I would say. However, if I buy a smaller seat, I think I'm going to be hitting the front when I rise. So this is actually why I opted to get the size 2, because I just feel like the size 1 is going to be wonderful when I don't rise, but when I do, it's probably going to cause me a bit of a hassle. So it comes in 4 different seat sizes, size 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's all dependent on, obviously, what seat size you prefer, your own confirmation, how long your legs are, etc., etc. So what actually goes with that is these fenders don't come in one size. They come in several sizes, okay? So when you say to the dealer, for example, I want a size 2 saddle, you may find it will come standard with medium fenders, for example. So you always have to say to the dealer, look, I want that size, but this is how long my leg is, because you may need a different fender size. So just be sure that you investigate that if you do purchase one of these. Okay, so obviously you will notice this is on an English tree, which means it has flocking. So these panels are flocked, okay? So all the way down, just like an English saddle. So you will need to have your flocking checked occasionally to make sure the saddle fits appropriately and so forth. The flocking is synthetic wool. It's very high quality, so it doesn't just compress down like, you know, if it's just really bad normal flocking or anything like that. It is really soft and lovely flocking and high quality. So you're not going to have to constantly change this. It's not going to pile up in there because it actually has a rubber inlay that prevents the wool from, I suppose, piling up inside there. So it keeps everything nice and level. So you can see it in front, and then in the back here, you can see there's actually a little bit of flocking in here. It's just, the function is to stop roll on the horse for this, but you can kind of see the back here. So a lot of people look at these saddles when they're on the horse and they think, wow, that looks super weird in the back. And I suppose it does when you're not used to it. But what it is that this part here is actually, this doesn't come into contact with the horse's back. It actually flares up away from the loin. So you're ensuring you're not putting any weight off the saddle onto the loin area of the horse. So this back here, you can actually stick your whole hand there and you're not going to feel any weight on that. And that's the purpose of it. It's supposed to flare away from the horse. And the same with the front here. If you look through there, you can kind of see that these panels flare away from the shoulders. Okay, and it's to create that space that's required for the saddle to fit properly. Okay, something strange and wonderful about this saddle is you get to choose what seat you want on the saddle. So that's seat shape and obviously the materials. So my saddle here has a Western dressage seat. Now, what you'll see immediately is the seat is really flat. And the purpose of that is that you get the correct position for your legs, obviously down here. It puts you in the correct position, so it doesn't put you in a chair seat. So, what is different? If you look at it from the side, you'll notice it tapers down really abruptly over there, and that's to accommodate the rider's thigh and leg, so it hangs down here really smoothly, okay? A traditional Western saddle, if you look at it from the side, it kind of goes down here, so it doesn't look as abrupt a change as here. And then if you look from the top of the saddle, you can kind of see how it comes in here a lot more. So if you have a traditional Western saddle, again, it'll be wider on the sides here. And the difference being that this gives you a closer contact feel because, you know, you're kind of closer to the horse with your thighs here. But it also helps hip pain. It really does. This is the first Western saddle that I've ridden in that has this seat, okay? I've only ever ridden in traditional seat Western saddles before this one. And so I guess you get used to those and you don't know the difference until you ride in this one. This one feels equivalent to an English saddle, an English dressage saddle, but it's a lot flatter seat. So you're not going to be having crotch issues, for example, where, you know, some dressage saddles have a really big slope upwards. This saddle doesn't do that, but it does provide your leg with ample space either side. And you can see it's got a lovely wide seat at the back here. Okay, so I've actually got my iPad open. I'll just show you what the traditional seat looks like. Just as a comparison, there you can kind of see the difference there between the two. All right, so now you can also get different channel widths for these saddles based on your horse's requirements. I have an 8 centimeter channel, which is a medium channel, and looks like so. You can see it's really wide. I can kind of stick my whole hand in there if I wanted to. Super wide. And you can get a narrow channel, which is 4 centimeters, or you can get a wide channel, which is bigger. All right, then you have different leather options. Now, I won't go through all the leather options because that you can find on the website. There's different tooling options. And there's different hardware options as well. So these little conchos and everything, you can choose whatever you want, really. So I'll show you what's different with this saddle to a base model saddle. Okay. So I bought the saddle as part of the in-stock list. So this is not a custom-made saddle at all. It was in stock when I purchased it. So they make in-stock saddles, and they give you the opportunity to do a custom saddle if that's something you wanted. If you just want to buy a saddle right now, look at all the in-stock models. Okay, so this particular saddle has a dressage seat, as we discussed. And the color of this saddle is chestnut with an antique finish, is what it's called. So I think it's a really nice color. It's really nice brown. This saddle got double oiled before I received it. So that's something that's a little bit unusual in the saddles. Usually it's single oiled only, but for some reason this one is double oiled, which was really cool because I didn't have to do anything when I received it. It does still creak like a Western saddle when you ride in it though. So just be aware that it does do that. It's very much like a Western saddle. The hardware on it is brass. So the hardware, for example, there, this, and I've got some picoberry conchos, which are lovely little decorations over there. Okay, something else you can get in these saddles is you can choose a super soft seat. So this seat is a super soft seat. It's kind of double padded. And the reason I wanted that is because I am a little bit skinnier side and I have a bony bum. And so I want some comfort when I do long distances. So this is my solution, a super soft seat. And it's so good. It really is very comfortable. I can highly recommend it. Something else that came with a saddle that I didn't necessarily want, but it was there, so I took it, was the rawhide tooling, also the rawhide trim around the horn. That doesn't come standard. So this is sort of a special thing that got added onto the saddle. Now, usually this will all just be leather. So, you know, there's options if you're interested in this kind of stuff. You can have it, but it just happened to come with the saddle on this occasion. Okay, so I must caution you that these saddles are an investment. If you just see these saddles online or you're looking at a retailer and you look at the price, you're probably going to fall on the back of your bum and think that costs a fortune. Why would anyone buy the saddle? Okay. The reason why people buy these saddles is because they're adjustable and they can fit almost any horse. So if you think about buying a normal Western saddle, I can't even count how many saddles I've bought to try and fit horses, because you're limited by the tree widths, the rock, the length of the saddles. All these kind of things present you with a real problem. So to find a saddle that meets all the needs and is going to last you a very long time is really difficult. So, you know, if you consider, for example, if you buy a Western saddle, let's say you pay 2,000 Australian dollars for it. That would be a fairly cheapish Western saddle. If it doesn't fit, you sell it. Now you buy another $2,000 saddle, and you go on and on until you eventually find a saddle that suits you. By the time you spent all the money, you may as well have bought the saddle and saved yourself the hassles of trying to fit some other thing. So it is an investment. It is not a splurge because you can necessarily. No, it's an investment saddle for good reason. So I'll tell you a little about the prices of these saddles. So this particular saddle is not going to be the same as every other Western Quantum you'll see. They all cost something different because they've got different things on them. So this one's tooling, for example. I didn't want full tooling because I don't like that. And the reason why is because it's hard to clean, I think. So I just didn't want full tooling. It's just too much work. So that's why I opted for border tooling instead. That's just me, personal preference. So this particular saddle, I'll start with the base prices. So the base prices for these saddles, it starts from 6,700 Australian dollars, and that equates to 4,300 US dollars. Now, that may be a saddle with no tooling. It's just a plain Quantum Western. I have actually seen one of those in person, and they're actually really beautiful. So don't be put off that there's no tooling or whatever. The function of the saddle's the same. So if you want to save some money, that's also a way to do that. This particular saddle, so it's got border tooling, it's got brass hardware, it's got the super soft seat, it's got the rawhide, and it's got these conchos. And it has some rawhide stirrups, which I don't use. And that's my own personal preference. I actually use safety stirrups instead. But it does come with these stirrups. So the cost of this particular saddle was 7,700 Australian dollars. And that equates to 5,500 US dollars. Okay. So why did I choose the saddle? Well, I covered a couple of those reasons already. One of my main reasons were I've got a hard to fit Gypsy Cob Arab cross. So she's very wide, but she has a very short back. And so to find a normal Western saddle to fit that is really difficult. Near impossible, I dare say. This saddle meets our needs because it's short. So when I say it's short, this particular one is 22.5 inches long, the base, which is not, that's very short for a Western saddle. And it weighs 10 kilograms, 22 pounds. So that really suited our needs, and it can go wide enough to accommodate her. You would also have heard that the Quantum Westerns come in a version that's called short and light. The differences are the panel. So the front panels that come down here, this flocked panel, is shorter. So it only comes up to about here. Now, the actual reason for the longer panel here is it gives more stability. It hugs the horse more. So there's more space to hug the horse, more contact, which means less roll on the horse, okay, especially the round ones, because anything will roll on a round horse. Don't be fooled into thinking you'll ever get a saddle that's just going to sit there. If they're round, they're round. Something's going to roll. So by means of fitting the saddle and your pad and your girth in an appropriate way, you're going to minimize the roll, okay? So that's the one difference. This is why they recommend the longer panel for round ponies or horses. Okay, so one difference. The other thing that's different with the short and light versus this one is this section is actually 1 inch shorter. Less leather, which is also why it's a slightly lighter saddle, the short and light. So the short and light actually weighs 8.5 kilograms, which is 19 pounds. And the base measurement for the short and light is 21 inches. So that's only 1.5 inches difference from the saddle. So that's the only reason it's slightly lighter, is because there's less leather being used. Okay. So I just wanted to point that out, just so people don't think there's a massive difference between the two. There really isn't. The short and light also doesn't have this back panel here. So it's much shorter up here, just because it doesn't need added stability. Okay, so something else I forgot to mention is this saddle with the Western dressage seat is a narrow twist. This is really helpful if you have a super wide horse, or you just have some sort of medical, say, pain or condition that prevents your hips from functioning properly, or you just get painful hips. The narrow twist significantly helps for all of that compared to a normal a normal Western seat. All right, the only other differences from a Western saddle with this one. So, for example, because it's on an English tree, it has billets, which are these girth straps you see here. These are called billets. There's no latigos on the saddle because it's on an English tree. So there's 3 different configurations for this particular saddle. So I've got a back strap here, and there's actually a configuration between the two that your saddle fitter can do for you if that's what the saddle fit requires. Or there's this front strap. Now this is called a billet point strap in the very front. This connects straight up to the tree points over here, okay? This suits my horse, and I'll show you in a second video how that looks on the horse. So something I've noticed when I bought this saddle is the billets are super long, really long. You may find that you have to punch in more holes. I've not had to do that, fortunately, but it is something you may have to do. But they are a lovely material. So this is like a little bit like suede, but not quite. So it's very soft material. It's great because your hand doesn't slip when you do up the girth. You're not going to punch yourself in the face using this. This is really nice. So I enjoy the billet system. So you will have to get an English girth to go with this. You're not going to be able to use a Western girth, okay, because of the billets there. All right, so just something to note, and you'll see this when I have the horse, is the shape of the saddle. If you look from the side, see this black piece, it actually extends all the way under the saddle. So I'll just show you there. This is one piece of leather, and this provides stability on the horse's back. So it goes all the way down and all the way across. Because of this, you will need a pad that goes a bit further down. You're not going to be able to just get a really short pad. So that's why I've got a drop rig pad on the saddle for myself. You may need some barrel pads may work. Just make sure that it actually accommodates this section here to make sure. The other thing you'll notice as I flip this up is just ignore these stirrups because I'll do a separate review on those. But the fenders, this is a Western fender. but they affix differently. So this is just some sweat stains that can easily be cleaned. But they have a single buckle, all right? Now you can see I am one hole from the end range of mine. This is why it's important to check your fender size. This works for me, which is fine, but you can see I can also easily have gone with a different fender size. So little buckle situation, really sturdy, really easy to change. I really like that. So there's no bells and whistles under here. So you can actually just change this with all the straps done up and move that. So that's really convenient. The only other thing to note is this seat is a nubuck seat. And that's sort of really soft, velvety feel to it. I really like the seat. There's different seat options. You can also get something like a full grain leather, smooth leather, etc. So there's many different options for the seat. And look, I think that's probably everything for this video. Cons of the saddle. Well, that depends on your preferences. Flocking can be seen as a con by some people. You'll have to get the saddle reflocked or at least checked every so often. You don't have to do it super often, but just be aware of it. And then other things sometimes people don't like. If you look at my saddle, you'll notice there's marks on the leather. So let's say like there or there. Now, DP Saddlery actually like this because they want to show off the natural nature of the leather. So it's actually intentional that they keep this leather like this. And I really like that. I think it brings out the character of the leather. It's not absolutely perfect and it looks fake. No, it's actually, it shows that the leather is real and it tells a story. So I really like that about it. So what I'll do is in part 2, I will show you all of this on the horse, just so you can see how it compares.